Welcome to our channel. Today, we're diving into this book, How to Talk to Anyone, by Janine Driver.
Oh, interesting.
Have you heard of it?
Yeah. It's a classic, right? Lots of practical communication tips and tricks, I hear.
Yeah, exactly. And I just finished it, and it is just packed with good stuff, I think. Like, it really gets into the nitty-gritty of how even the tiniest tweaks in the way you communicate can totally change how people see you.
It's not just about being like a naturally smooth talker, is it?
No, not at all.
It's about like recognizing those little things that successful people do
Yeah,
and then breaking it down so that anyone can learn those skills.
right. And one of the first things that jumped out at me was how much emphasis she puts on nonverbal communication.
Hmm.
I mean, we all know first impressions are important,
Yeah.
but she breaks down like exactly why that is and how we can use that to our advantage.
It's not even just about making a good first impression, though, is it? It's more about like understanding that constant stream of nonverbal cues
Yeah.
that we're always sending and receiving.
Right. All the time. Yeah.
Driver, she actually uses this example of like working in foreign countries where she didn't speak the language.
Oh, wow.
And she talks about how much she could tell about her colleagues just based on their body language.
Oh, really?
And the thing is those first impressions, like even just based on nonverbals, they ended up being like super accurate.
Wow. That's really interesting. So it's like we're always communicating even when we don't realize it.
Mhm.
So how do we become more aware of our own nonverbal signals? I feel like, are we all just walking around broadcasting awkwardness?
Well, Driver gets like really specific. Like take smiling, for example.
Okay.
We all know it's important, right? But she says like not all smiles are created equal. Have you ever heard of the flooding smile?
No, that's a new one for me.
It's basically like this technique where you kind of delay your smile just a little bit.
Okay.
So it's not like this instant panicked smile.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
It's more
More
like,
genuine.
exactly. More warmth, more genuine. Like you're smiling specifically for that person.
Right. So instead of that like knee jerk, oh, I have to smile right now.
Right.
It's more like,
It should be a little bit more relaxed.
yeah.
She even found research suggesting that this like tiny little delay can make people see you as more sincere and approachable.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's like it makes it more special when you wait just a little bit for it
Exactly.
instead of just throwing it out there all the time.
Yeah. There's actually this story in the book about it's about a woman named Missy, and she's like conventionally attractive, but she could never like connect with people. And it turned out her smile was like too immediate.
Ah, interesting.
So it made her seem like insincere, almost like she was trying too hard.
Oh, wow.
But she slowed down her smile and it made like a huge difference.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's those subtle things.
Exactly. And it made her way more approachable and likable.
Okay. It's amazing how these tiny little adjustments can make such a big impact. And it makes you think about like all the ways we might be sabotaging ourselves
Totally.
without even realizing it.
Totally, yeah.
Speaking of tiny adjustments, big payoffs, Driver also talks about the power of eye contact.
Oh, yeah. Sticky eyes.
Yeah, sticky eyes.
That's so
I
good.
love that. So holding it for a beat longer than you normally would.
Hmm.
But you don't want to stare people down. That's a little creepy.
Yeah.
But like that extra second or two can signal, hey, I'm really present. I'm engaged with you.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it makes people feel, I think, more valued, I would think.
For sure, yeah. She has this great example about this salesman who tried this technique with a waiter. And so he held the waiter's gaze like a little bit longer when he placed his order. And guess what? The service they got all night was exceptional.
Really, it's like a little secret weapon for good service.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm going to try that. I'm going to use that next time I'm at a
Just
restaurant.
let me know how it goes.
Yeah, it's like you're saying, I see you. I'm listening.
Yeah. It really is about tapping into that human need to like feel seen,
Yeah.
which I think is a theme that like runs throughout the whole book.
Yeah, it definitely does. And while we're talking about nonverbals, we can't forget about posture.
Oh, yes.
I mean, everyone knows good posture equals confidence, but Driver gives some really concrete techniques to improve it.
You're thinking of the hang by your teeth visualization, right?
Yes, that's the one, yeah. Like you're picturing like an imaginary circus bit hanging from every doorway.
Yes.
As you walk through, you bite down on the bit and it lifts you up. It's so funny.
So good. It's so effective.
I've been trying it. And honestly, it works.
Does it really?
It does. It makes you feel taller and more confident. It's kind of like how athletes will visualize success
Yeah.
before a competition.
Totally. Yeah.
And speaking of feeling like a winner, Have you seen the Affirmify Journey YouTube channel?
No, I haven't.
Oh, they have great motivational content, which can be super helpful. But getting back to Driver's book,
Yes.
another key point is that small talk, it's actually a lot more than just exchanging pleasantries.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
It's about creating comfort
Yeah.
and like shared experience.
Yeah.
And it can be really powerful in building relationships.
It's so true. A lot of people, I think, they dread small talk.
Oh,
They
all
just
right.
see it as like superficial or like pointless.
Right. Why are we even doing
But
this?
exactly, yeah.
The Driver, she reframes it in this really cool way.
Yeah. How does she describe it?
She talks about it as like making comforting noises together.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. It's so good. Like to ease that initial social anxiety and finding common ground, even if it's just like, hey, nice weather we're having,
Mm.
or good coffee. You know, it's just like that. Those little things.
Right. It's like the social lubricant that helps everything flow smoothly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And she has this great story. I don't know if you've read this one.
Oh, tell me.
It's about being in an elevator with a bunch of Mensa members.
Oh, no.
And they were all like really excited to discuss the mechanics of elevators.
Oh, gosh.
And she's exhausted and just wants some peace and quiet.
Oh, that's so awkward.
It's so funny.
I feel like I've been in that situation.
Yeah. And it's a great example of how mismatched energy can totally hinder communication.
Yeah.
You know, if you launch into this like complex topic before you've even kind of gauged the other person's mood or energy level,
Right.
you risk coming across as insensitive or just weird.
It's like you're forcing a puzzle piece into the wrong spot. It just doesn't fit.
Exactly. So how do we get better at matching people's energy and finding that common ground?
Well, Driver gives us a whole arsenal of techniques for that.
Hmm?
One of my favorites is the what's it technique.
Okay. I like the sound of that.
It's so simple but so effective for like sparking conversations and like making those little connections with people.
What is it?
So basically, you wear or carry something unique. That acts as a conversation starter. Like it could be a piece of jewelry, it could be a book with an interesting title or a pin, just anything that like stands out a little bit.
Yeah, I see. So it kind of gives people permission to approach you
Exactly.
instead of you having to like come up with that witty opening line.
Exactly. And it can also be like a great way to signal your own interests and personality without even saying a word.
Right.
So it's like a little nonverbal cue.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of opening lines, Driver also has some advice for breathing life into that classic conversation killer. Where are you from?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Which can be so, so deadly
It can be.
if you just answer with like a one-word answer.
Right.
She has this thing, she calls it never the naked city.
Okay.
So instead of just saying Chicago,
Yeah.
you could say Chicago, where the pizza is deep dish
Right.
and the blues music is legendary.
Oh, I like that. So it's not just like a dry fact.
Yeah.
It's something that gives the listener something to like latch onto.
Right,
Yeah.
right. It gives them like a taste of who you are and where you come from. And it's way more engaging than just that one-word response.
Absolutely. And it's way more memorable.
Right. And once you're in a conversation, Driver really stresses the importance of like active listening and responding in a way that encourages people to open up.
Right.
One technique I found this fascinating is called parroting.
Oh, yes. Parroting. So good.
Yeah. It's about repeating the last few words someone says, but not in a mocking way,
Right.
in a way that invites them to say more.
So subtle, but so powerful.
Right. It's like you're gently guiding the conversation
Yeah.
deeper.
Without being pushy or interrupting them.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. She gives this great example of this car salesman who used this technique.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He had this customer who was hesitant to buy a car. So instead of arguing, the salesman just parroted the customer's concerns.
Okay.
And that prompted the customer to like reveal what was really holding them back.
Really? So they felt heard. So they opened up. That's interesting.
Exactly.
Like you're helping them unlock what's already in their mind.
Yeah.
That's so clever.
It is. It's like a psychological trick to unlock those hidden anxieties.
Right, right. I like that. So it's like so much is going on beneath the surface in our conversations.
Right, right. Exactly.
And speaking of going deeper, Driver also talks about this, creating a sense of similarity
Yeah,
with the people we're talking to.
of course. Yeah.
We tend to gravitate toward people who share our values or experiences, but she gives some really specific techniques for how to cultivate that sense of connection.
Right. One technique she talks about is echoing.
Okay.
And that's all about like subtly mirroring the other person's language
Okay.
and even their mannerisms. It's not about mimicking them.
Right.
It's more about aligning yourself with their way of speaking.
Okay, yeah. So you're speaking their language.
Exactly. It creates this sense of rapport and understanding.
Right, right. And it's funny, I've noticed that when I'm talking to someone who uses similar language,
Yeah,
I instantly feel more of a connection.
totally.
Like we're on the same wavelengths.
Yeah, exactly. And she also talks about the premature we. Have you heard of that one?
I have not.
It's basically like you use the word we even if you've just met someone,
Okay.
as if you're already like part of a team
Oh, interesting.
or like a shared experience.
Yeah.
It's crazy how effective that can be in building like rapport and establishing trust, especially if you need to quickly connect with someone.
So I could see that being really helpful in like a business negotiation or even just, meeting new people at a party. It's like you're subtly saying, hey, we're in this together.
Totally. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay. So speaking of making connections, Driver also breaks down the art of the compliment, which can be surprisingly tricky.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
It's not as easy as it sounds.
No, it's a nuanced thing, isn't
Uh-huh.
it? It really is, yeah. And I think so many people kind of screw it up. But she gives a whole taxonomy of compliments
Oh, cool.
for different situations,
Hmm.
each with its own little, like, power and purpose.
So it's not just, hey, I like your shoes.
Yeah.
It's much more nuanced than that.
Way more nuanced. And I love that about this book. It's like she really gets specific and she gives you that cheat sheet. So let's dive into some of those compliment techniques.
Yeah, let's do it.
What are some of your favorites?
Well, one that I think is particularly clever is called no risk praise.
Okay.
It's about complimenting someone, but like indirectly.
So you're not going straight for the kill
No.
with a direct compliment.
So it doesn't seem like you're like trying too hard or being like manipulative.
Right, right. Okay.
Right.
I see, yeah.
So she actually calls it being a carrier pigeon of good feelings.
I love that. Okay.
Oh.
So how do you do that?
So basically, you tell someone else how much you admire that person.
Oh. And they'll tell them.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah. I like that.
Word gets back to them.
It's so much more impactful when it comes from a third party.
Totally.
Right. It
Yeah.
feels more genuine and it doesn't feel like you're fishing for anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a way to express your admiration without putting them on the spot.
Right. It's like the stealth compliment.
Exactly.
Okay. What other types of compliments does she talk about?
Another one is called accidental adulation.
Okay.
And it's basically you slip praise into a sentence, but like subtly, as if it were just like an offhand remark.
Oh, I see. Okay. So instead of saying, I like your shoes,
Right.
you might say, those shoes look fantastic on you. You have great taste.
Exactly.
And it doesn't sound like you're trying to, like, get a compliment back.
No, not at all. It feels much more genuine and personal.
Yeah. It's like you just kind of, like a master of subtle flattery.
Exactly. Yeah, I like that. Master of subtle flattery.
I try. What about when you want to, like, really knock someone's socks off with a compliment?
Oh, yeah. She has something for that, too.
Does she?
It's called the killer compliment.
Okay.
And this one's reserved for, like, very special occasions. You don't want to, like, overuse this one.
Right.
It should be given sparingly.
Right.
But it's basically about finding something truly unique and admirable about someone and expressing it, like, genuinely.
So it's like finding that one perfect pearl in a vast ocean of oysters.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It should be very specific and it should be sincere and delivered in private. This isn't about like public flattery.
Right.
It's about acknowledging something that you genuinely respect.
Like a gift you're giving them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, for those everyday compliments to loved ones,
Yeah.
she suggests little strokes.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
Yeah. So it's just like small, frequent expressions of appreciation.
Like, you made a great dinner.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. Like noticing those little things
Yeah.
and letting people know that you appreciate them.
Like watering a plant, you
Yep.
know? You need those consistent little doses to help it thrive.
Totally. Yeah. And to really like understand your loved one's values and what's truly important to them,
Yeah.
she suggests the tombstone game.
Oh, I've heard of that one. That's a good one.
It sounds a little morbid, but it's actually quite insightful.
Yeah. It's basically like asking them what they would want their tombstone to say, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of like forces them to think about their legacy,
Right.
what they want to be remembered for. It can lead to some really interesting conversations.
Yeah. It's like looking into their soul a little bit.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in terms of like face-to-face communication.
Mm.
But what about those situations where you're not physically present,
Yeah.
like
Oh,
phone calls?
oh, right.
How do you
Yeah.
navigate those?
Well, Driver dedicates a whole chapter to phone communication.
Really?
Yeah, it's so good. She acknowledges that it comes with its own, like, unique set of challenges because you don't have that body language
Gotcha.
to help get your message across.
Yeah. So how do you inject personality and warmth into a phone call?
Well, she talks about the importance of talking gestures.
Okay.
So basically, it's using verbal cues
Okay.
to kind of like convey those emotions.
So instead of just saying, that's great,
Yeah.
you might say, wow, that's fantastic. I'm so excited for you.
Exactly. Yeah. So you're basically using your voice
Right.
to like paint that picture and create that connection.
Right. Even though they can't see you. I never thought about that.
It's so true.
Okay. And another technique you mentioned is name showering.
Oh, yes. Name showering.
So good.
It's so simple, but so effective.
What is it?
It's basically using the person's name
Oh,
frequently
Oh, okay.
throughout the conversation.
So it makes it more personal.
Exactly. It creates that sense of like familiarity and warmth.
Right. Yeah. It's like you're acknowledging them as an individual.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay. And to leave a lasting impression,
Mm.
she suggests hang up happiness.
Oh, yes. That's a good one.
Ending the call on a positive note so they feel good.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, it was great talking to you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Leave them wanting more.
Okay, I like it. So we talked about personal interactions, but Driver also offers some really valuable stuff for the professional world, like the business etiquette section.
Mm.
What are some of the key takeaways there?
Oh, gosh, there's so many. One of the things that I think is so important that she emphasizes is the importance of see no bloopers, hear no bloopers.
I love that.
It's so good, right? So basically, like, you're being gracious
Okay.
and you're overlooking people's little mistakes.
Oh, totally. I think that's such a classy professional approach
Yeah.
because everyone makes mistakes, right? And dwelling on them just creates so much awkwardness.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's so much better to just let it go.
Right. Yeah. It's about creating that sense of like ease and professionalism.
Right. Yeah. No one wants to feel like they're walking on eggshells.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, she also talks about lending a helping tongue, which is like rescuing someone
Oh, yeah.
who's lost their train of thought.
It's such a subtle way to show like empathy and support.
Right. It's
Yeah.
like you're throwing them a lifeline
Exactly.
when they're drowning in a sea of words.
It's so true. And it makes them feel so much more comfortable and appreciated.
Right. Right. So it's like you're not just being polite, you're actually helping them save face,
Yeah.
which is great.
Yeah.
And she also talks about when you're asking for favors,
Yes.
being upfront about what's in it for me or why I am.
Oh, yes. That's a big one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about respecting people's time and energy
Right.
and being clear about why they should help you.
It's about being transparent and making sure that everybody benefits.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's not just about being polite. It's about being strategic in how you communicate.
Right. Yeah.
And then to navigate those social situations smoothly, she has some great advice for what not to say. Avoiding certain topics at parties.
Right.
Don't bring up politics.
Yeah, exactly. She calls those safe havens, those times and places where it's inappropriate to bring up touchy subjects.
Right. It's about reading
Yeah.
the room, right?
Yes.
And recognizing that not every setting is appropriate for every conversation.
Absolutely.
So parties are for socializing and having fun, not for hashing out business deals or personal problems.
Exactly, yeah. And meals, especially business meals, are about building relationships and enjoying that time together, not for tense negotiations.
Right, right. Don't put up anything too heavy.
Exactly.
Keep it light.
Yeah.
And she also cautions against bringing up business during chance encounters, like running into someone at the grocery store
Oh, right.
or the gym.
Yeah, it can be so awkward. It can feel really intrusive.
Right, yeah. You're kind of ambushing them
Yeah.
in their safe space. It's hey, I'm just trying to buy groceries.
Yeah.
Not talk about business.
Exactly. It's about respecting those boundaries.
So we have to be mindful of the context
Right.
and choose our moments wisely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So are there any overarching communication principles that she emphasizes throughout the book?
One of the biggest ones is emptying their tanks.
Okay. What's that?
Basically, it's about letting the other person talk.
Okay.
about themselves and what they're interested in
Right.
before you even introduce your own agenda.
I see. So it's about being a good listener and
Exactly.
making them feel heard.
It's about like shifting the focus from like me to we
Right.
and creating that shared understanding.
That's really important. And she also talks about echoing the emo,
Oh, yes.
acknowledging and empathizing with someone's emotions, even if you don't agree with them.
Exactly. Yeah, it's about saying, hey, I understand that you're feeling frustrated, or I can see why you're upset. Even if you don't necessarily agree with them, it's about validating their feelings.
It's so important. And it can help, like, de-escalate the situation
Totally. Yeah.
and create a more constructive dialogue. So it's about building bridges instead of walls.
Absolutely.
Even when dealing with someone who is clearly in the wrong, she recommends leaving an escape hatch, allowing them to save face,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and back down gracefully.
It's so important. It's about like preserving those relationships
Right.
and avoiding unnecessary conflict.
And one of the most powerful things she talks about is the great scorecard in the sky.
Yes. The
Yes.
scorecard. So good. It's the idea that like every relationship has this invisible scorecard
Yeah.
that's constantly fluctuating based on like who's contributing more,
Yeah.
who's made a misstep.
It's like a cosmic balance sheet for your relationship.
Totally.
Yeah. So you have to be aware of that and make sure that you're doing your part
Right.
to keep it balanced.
Yeah. If you mess up, you've got to find a way to make amends. And if you've been taking more than you've been giving, you've got to step up.
It's a two-way street.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's a constant, like, giving and taking and nurturing. And speaking of nurturing, Driver also emphasizes the importance of buttercups.
Oh, yes. The buttercups. I love that.
What are those?
They're basically these complimentary letters
Okay.
that you write to service personnel
Okay.
or anyone who has gone above and beyond to help you.
It's so nice.
Yeah, it's so simple,
I like that.
but it has such a big impact.
It's way more meaningful than just like a quick text or email.
Totally. Yeah. And it can really like brighten somebody's day.
Right. It makes them feel appreciated.
Yeah.
And then to make those buttercups even more impactful, she suggests you send a copy to the person's supervisor.
Right. It shows that you're really serious about recognizing their excellent service.
That's really smart.
Okay.
And lastly, Driver encourages readers to be cool cats who clap first.
Oh, yes. I love that.
What a great image. What does that even mean?
So it's about being like a leader, not a follower.
Okay.
And it's about being the first to applaud or like publicly commend someone
Okay.
that you admire or that you agree with.
Right.
It shows confidence and a willingness to like stand out.
Instead of just following the crowd.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. Be a cool cat.
A cool cat.
This book is like a gold mine of communication tips.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many simple but effective techniques she's packed into this book.
It really is. She's done a fantastic job of like distilling her knowledge.
Right. It's like very actionable, bite-sized advice.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are we going to talk about next?
Well, there's this really great technique she talks about for getting the inside scoop on any field. It's called read their rags.
Read their rags.
Okay, I know it sounds funny, but it's basically like
Yeah.
reading the magazines.
Oh, I see.
Cater to a specific industry or interest.
Uh-huh.
So like if you want to talk shop with golfers, you pick up a golf magazine.
Oh,
Or if you're, going to a party full of accountants,
yeah.
you browse an accounting journal.
Oh, I see.
It's amazing like how much insider knowledge you can pick up.
That's so smart. It's like you're doing your homework
Yeah, exactly.
before you go into that situation.
And it shows that you're genuinely interested
Yeah.
in what they do.
Okay. Now, I'm curious about this instant replay technique.
Oh, yeah. Instant replay.
It sounds a little like cheating, but I'm intrigued.
No, it's not cheating at all. It's basically using technology to your advantage. So she recommends recording your important business conversations.
Okay. Legally and ethically, of course.
Of course, yeah.
So you can listen to them again later.
I see. So it's not about like trying to catch them in a lie or anything.
Right. No, not at all.
It's more about just making sure that you absorb everything.
Yeah. It's so easy to miss things when you're in the moment.
Yeah, totally. So this way you can relax knowing that you can always go back.
Right. Like rewind. Okay.
Exactly.
And that makes a lot of sense, especially for like complex conversations or high stakes situations like, oh, shoot, what did they say?
Exactly. Or like learning industry jargon or like
Mhm.
technical terms. You can go back and really
Ah,
listen.
I see. Yeah. Okay. I like
It's
that.
so helpful.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Especially in like finance or tech,
totally.
where it can be so dense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And speaking of game changers, Driver actually has a whole chapter.
Oh, does she?
Yeah, it's on how to work a party like a politician.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's so good. It's full of like these practical tips on making a great impression.
Well, that's timely.
Is it?
Yeah, with all the holiday parties coming
Oh,
up.
that's right.
I
Yes.
need all the help I can get.
I feel that. Well, one thing she says is like you want to avoid that common party blooper of clinging to the first person you talk to.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I've been there. It's like you're trapped.
Totally. It happens to all of us.
It's like, how do we get out of this? Yeah.
Exactly. So she recommends like politely excusing yourself after a few minutes
Okay.
and kind of circulating.
Okay, yeah. Mingle.
Exactly. Mingle. The goal is to meet like as many people as possible and just make that positive impression.
Work the room. Like
Exactly.
you own the place.
Yeah.
And to make yourself more approachable, she recommends using come hither hands.
Oh, yes. The come hither hands.
What does that mean?
So basically, you're keeping those palms open and gestures welcoming.
Okay. So no crossed arms.
Exactly. No crossed arms, no clenched fists.
Okay, yeah. I can see that.
Yeah, it's like you're projecting this openness and approachability.
Right. Okay. And once you're in a conversation,
Yeah.
she talks about tracking,
Oh, yeah, track.
remembering little details
So important.
about the people you meet so
Yeah.
you can refer to them later.
It's about like really showing that you are paying attention
Right.
and that you're interested. Even like remembering somebody's kids' names or a recent trip they took.
Oh, right. Those little things.
Yeah, it can make them feel so special.
Yeah, yeah. Like you're actually listening. And to really connect with people on a deeper level, she recommends something called eyeball selling. Now, that sounds a little intense. What is that?
I know, eyeball selling.
Is that like mind reading?
Not exactly mind reading, but basically it's about like observing those nonverbal cues to kind of gauge their interest.
Okay.
And then you tailor your communication accordingly.
So it's like reading those nonverbal cues, like the eye contact, the facial expressions, the body language.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, are they leaning in? Are they nodding? Are they
Yeah.
making eye contact? Or are they like fidgeting and looking away?
So you're basically reading between the lines to
Exactly.
see if they're really engaged.
Exactly. And then you kind of like adjust accordingly.
Got it. Okay, so I'm a notorious note taker, but even I struggle to remember all the interesting details I learn about people.
Oh, yeah, same.
Any tips for that?
Yes. She suggests creating what she calls a business card dossier.
Okay.
So basically, after you meet someone, you take their business card
Yeah.
and you jot down any like relevant information
Oh,
on the back of the card.
oh wait.
So it could be their kids' names,
Okay. Yeah.
hobbies, or upcoming events.
Yeah.
Just anything that like helps you connect with them later on.
Yeah. So you're not like starting from scratch. You have those little touch points.
Yeah.
I like that. It's like your own little personal CRM
Exactly.
for your relationships.
I know.
Okay. I think professionally, one of the most valuable things that she emphasizes is like grace and understanding in the workplace.
Oh, totally.
Like when it comes to dealing with those awkward moments, those slip-ups.
You're talking about see no bloopers, hear no bloopers.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's it. It really resonated with me.
It's so good, right?
Because we all have those moments. We say the wrong thing or, spill coffee.
Yeah. Trip over our words.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so much more elegant to just like
Yeah.
let those little blunders slide.
Totally. No one wants to feel like they're being judged all the time.
Right.
So it's about creating that space where, like, it's okay to make mistakes.
Right. So you don't feel like you're walking on eggshells all the time.
Exactly.
And then on the flip side, she also talks about lending a helping tongue
Oh, yes. Lending a helping tongue. I love that.
when someone is like losing their train of thought.
Yeah. Struggling to express themselves.
Yeah. It's that subtle way to show you're like there to help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're like, I gotcha. We'll get through this together.
Yeah. You're a good conversational partner.
Totally.
Yeah. And then when it comes to like asking for favors,
Yeah.
she talks about, again, like being upfront about what's in it for me.
Oh, yeah. WIFM.
Yeah. Yeah. It's about like framing it in a way that it's beneficial for both people.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah.
You're respecting their time and their energy.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
It's a win-win.
it is. And, to kind of like avoid those social faux pas,
Yes.
she talks about respecting safe havens.
Safe havens, okay.
So it's like those times and places where it's just like not appropriate
Right.
to like discuss sensitive topics or to make demands,
Yeah. Okay, so like parties.
Exactly. Parties,
Don't bring up like business. Keep it
Exactly.
light and fun.
Yeah. It's about reading the room.
Right.
And yeah, like you said, parties are for socializing and having fun, not for like hashing out business deals.
Or those deep personal problems.
Exactly. And meals as well, like especially business meals.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's about enjoying the food and the company. It's not for like hardcore negotiations.
No, keep it light.
Right.
And she also says to not bring up business when you run into someone,
Yeah.
like randomly.
Oh, yeah, yeah. At the grocery store
Hmm.
or the gym. It can be so awkward.
Right, because it feels like you're kind of like ambushing them.
Totally. Yeah. It's like, hey, I'm just trying to work out here.
Right, right. Not talk about work.
Exactly. Yeah. It's about being mindful
Yeah.
of those boundaries.
Right, right. And being respectful of people's time.
Totally.
Yeah. And if you do have something important to share,
Yeah.
she talks about, again, like emptying their tanks first.
Oh, yes. After their tanks. So important.
Let them talk about themselves.
Yeah. Let them share what's on their mind before you jump in with your agenda.
So it's about creating that connection
Right. Exactly.
before you go into your spiel.
Yeah. It makes such a difference.
Okay. And when dealing with someone who's upset or angry, she suggests echoing the emo.
Oh, yeah. So good.
Right.
It's all about validating those feelings, even if you don't necessarily agree with them.
Yeah. It's about saying, like, I understand why you're upset.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, I can see that you're frustrated.
Can help, like, de-escalate things.
Totally. Yeah.
Right. It's showing that empathy.
Right. Creating a more constructive dialogue.
It's, again, like building bridges, not walls.
Exactly. And even when you're dealing with someone who's like clearly in the wrong,
Yeah.
she recommends leaving an escape hatch.
What's that?
So basically, you're allowing them to save face
Okay.
and back down gracefully without feeling totally embarrassed.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's like a really good way to preserve the relationship.
Yeah. So it's kind of like being the bigger person.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it's better to just let it go.
Yeah.
You know?
Pick your battles. And one of the most powerful things I think she talks about is the great scorecard in the sky.
Oh, yes. The scorecard.
Right.
It's so good. It's the idea that every relationship has this like invisible scorecard
Yeah.
that's always fluctuating based on like who's contributing more,
Right, right.
who's made a misstep, who's offering support and who's taking more than they're giving.
It's like a cosmic balance sheet
Same.
for your relationships.
And the key is to be aware of it
Yeah.
and to make sure that you're doing your part.
To keep things balanced.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if you've messed up, you got to make amends.
Yeah.
Or if you've been taking more than you've been giving, you got to step up.
You got to contribute more.
Right. It's that two-way street.
Absolutely. It's a constant give and take.
Yeah.
Right.
It's, like you said, it's that constant nurturing and attention. And speaking of nurturing, Driver also emphasizes those buttercups.
Oh, yes. The buttercups.
Right.
They're so good.
What are those again?
So basically, there are these complimentary letters that you write
Okay.
to service personnel
Hi.
or just anyone who has like really gone above and beyond.
Okay. It's a nice little gesture.
Yeah, it's such a nice gesture. And it's so simple.
Yeah.
But it can make like a huge difference.
Right. And then to make them even more impactful, she suggests sending a copy to their supervisor.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It shows that you're serious
Right. Yeah.
about recognizing that excellent service.
Yeah. And it might even help them, like, get a raise or something.
Totally. Yeah. Why
Yeah.
not?
Right, right.
And then, lastly, she encourages readers to be cool cats who clap first.
Oh, yeah, I love that. The cool cats.
It's such a good visual, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what it means is like being a leader,
Okay.
not a follower.
Okay.
So you're the first one to applaud or like publicly commend someone that you admire,
Right.
that you agree with.
Okay. So it's about, like, taking a stand for what you believe in.
Exactly.
And not being afraid to be, like, the first one to do it.
Yeah. Be bold. Be a cool cat.
I like that.
Right.
Yeah. So what does this all mean for us?
Well, I think, the big takeaway from all this is
Yeah.
communication is a skill,
Okay.
and it can be learned,
Right.
and it can be practiced.
Yeah. So it's not about being like born with this like natural charisma.
No, not at all.
It's about understanding those principles
Exactly.
and using the techniques
Right.
to improve. It's about being intentional.
Totally, yeah. And
Yeah.
being adaptable.
Yeah. Like being a communication chameleon, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so this book has given me a lot of new tools. What about you?
Oh my gosh, me too. It's like a whole new level of awareness.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the exciting part about it.
Yeah.
It's not about becoming someone else.
Right.
It's about like honing the skills you already have.
Right. And being more deliberate about it.
Exactly. And Driver talks about how like communication is like a muscle.
Oh, yeah. I've heard that.
The more you use it.
The stronger it gets.
Exactly.
And this book is like a workout routine
It is. It really is.
for your communication muscles. So many strategies.
It really is. And I think the other thing that's important to remember is like it should be fun.
Oh, yeah.
It shouldn't feel like a chore.
Communication should be fun.
Right.
It should be enjoyable.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it shouldn't feel like pulling teeth.
Exactly. It should be something that you enjoy doing.
Right.
And, it's not about using all of the techniques all the time.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It's about choosing the ones that feel authentic to you.
Yeah.
That feel right for the situation.
Right. And being genuine.
Exactly. That's what really connects with people.
Yeah. Yeah. Like being you, but the best version of you, especially when you're communicating. This book, I feel like it gave me a whole new level of awareness.
Me too. I
Yeah.
feel like so much more aware of how I'm coming across.
Totally.
And that's what's so cool about it.
Yeah.
It's not about becoming someone else.
Right.
It's about like really honing in on those skills that you already have.
Yeah. Being more intentional.
Exactly. And, like Driver was saying, communication is like a muscle.
Yeah.
The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
This book's like a workout routine for your communication muscles.
I love that. It's so true.
I'm going to be ripped. Communication ripped. So many good strategies in this book. It's amazing how many like simple but effective techniques she has.
It really is. It's like a treasure trove.
Yeah. If you're looking to like improve your communication skills, definitely check this book out.
Absolutely. And if you're looking to like take those skills to the next level, I would definitely check out lingopediamagazine.com. They have like tons of courses and ebooks.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, all about language and communication styles.
Oh, okay.
So if you're looking to be a more confident and effective communicator, it's a great resource.
I love that. I'm always down to learn more. This deep dive has been awesome.
Me too. We've covered so much.
We have, and it feels like we've only like scratched the surface of this book.
It's so true. But that's the fun part.
Yeah.
Right? Learning is an ongoing process.
It is. So for our listeners, what's like the one big takeaway you want them to remember?
I would say the biggest takeaway is that everyone has the potential to be a great communicator. It's not about being born with some magical talent.
Right.
It's about being willing to put in the work.
Right. Yeah.
Practice and experiment.
And be open to learning.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
about using that power of communication to build better relationships, achieve your goals, and just, make a positive impact on the world.
So well said. Yeah. And if you enjoyed this deep dive,
Yeah.
don't forget to subscribe to our channel.
Yes.
We got tons more.
We have so much more to share.
Yeah.
And if you know someone who could benefit from these tips, share this episode with them.
Yes.
We believe that everyone deserves to feel confident
Absolutely.
when they communicate. And let us know your thoughts.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
Leave a comment below. Tell us what you learned, what your big takeaways were. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for joining us.
Yes. Thanks for joining us.
Happy communicating.